to answer them. And if I don't know, I promise I will say I don't know. Because believe it or not, that's a valid answer, at least in our philosophy. And I'm actually going to kind of shorten this one up, because if some of you remember that a few weeks ago the kids were telling us that they had a surprise for us that we were never going to guess, it's at the end of this service. So Reverend Kathleen has been given her instructions. So who has the first question? He who hesitates does not get to query. You know what? I'm going to ask you to talk into the mic because we record this for the teachers.
Truth is, she likes making me walk all over.
I do. That's the other part. That's the fun part of my world.
I'm unclear about life after death. I've read, I've read a lot, but it still leaves me unclear on the philosophy of the church on it.
So Ernest Holmes said that our official answer on that is we don't know. And that it's not fair to try and pretend to knowledge that we don't have. It is the only chapter in the textbook that he writes in the first person because he's just giving his opinion. And he also said that, many people have their own opinions about that. This teaching is more about life before death and making sure we have one. One of my teachers was big on talking about graveyards full of people who had near-life experiences. You don't have to wait for heaven on the other side. Let's create it here. And I think Bob had his hand up next. Does that answer your question, even if the answer is I don't know? I have my theories.
Kathleen, I know many of us have been struggling with the Kavanaugh circus going on in Congress, but on a more serious note, the real feelings that many women, as well as men, but in this case many women, have been victimized and continue to be victimized by the kind of ignorance and male chauvinism, whatever you want to call it, that goes on, and the power and abuse of power in Congress. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to know, maybe to help me and maybe some other people here, how do you sort of see that in the context of CSL?
I need to end in 15 minutes, right? Okay. I'm really, really glad you asked that question. It was something I was going to allude to later. Because some people have already come to me saying, Reverend Kathleen, I'm triggered. I'm really triggered, and I'm having flashbacks, males and females, and I don't know what to do with them. I have my personal opinion and my personal experience. I don't know that CSL has, as a global organization, has put forth a statement on this one as of yet. If they do, I will certainly share it with everybody. Dr. Ken Gordon is really good at addressing these things wisely. And you've got me, so here I am. CSL does not have a political position on anything. However, we do stand with those of our brothers and sisters with whom we are one who have experienced assault. I was thinking about this last night and how I would talk about this. And the truth is, I don't think I know very many women, at least, who have not experienced it, which is the outpicturing of a belief that perhaps we need to look at now. This is what happens when we sit down and take a good hard look at the world we've created to see what beliefs are underlying our creation. And you know what? We can change anything. This is coming up to be healed. That's the only reason anything comes up. It's coming up to be healed. Who here would like their children and grandchildren to have no clue what we're talking about when we say epidemic of assault? Is it worth facing our own, forgive the language, crap in order to make that happen for the next generations? In order to perhaps live on the other side of being triggered to a point where I get through my day and don't really think about it anymore? Is it worth it to us to do the work? Okay. I've never had somebody say no. And I will admit that doing the work on the PTSD and the trauma and everything else is challenging. It is not going to be fun. The reward is the fun part. So my telephone number, my cell phone number, is in every one of your bulletins. It's splattered all over the rest of the world in terms of our newsletter and everything else. Please do call me if you're triggered. I've said it before from up here. I've personally dealt with this issue, and I was blessed to have the right people at the right time help me get past it. There is no person in this room or anywhere else who is irrevocably broken because of what somebody else did. There is no person. I say that as somebody with a degree in psychology as well as your minister. So given how much I paid for those degrees, you better believe me. Okay, Jackson.
Can you say that again?
There is no, how much I paid for these degrees. Not that part.
Before that.
Before that. There was a time I really believed that this earth was not worth living on. There was a time I thought I had committed the sin of adultery and therefore was going to hell because my abuser was married to my mother. In 7th grade, I got pregnant and had a miscarriage. And at that point, I thought I had just gone crazy. I am here to tell you that I, too, am perfect, whole, and complete. I've worked with kids who were tortured, basically. They, too, in God, are still perfect, still loved, still worthy. There is no one here, no one on earth that has ever been or could ever be that is separate from the divine goodness. And I will say that to you as many times as it takes to convince you, because in this one, I know I'm right. In this one, I know that I've never met a kid who deserved to be abused. I've never met a person who deserved to be groped or denigrated for who they are. So that is my take on what's going on, that this is coming up because we have something big to heal. And I only share that story so you can see what it looks like from the other side. I'm not broken. I don't need anyone to come up to me afterwards and say, this is what I'm going to do to help you fix yourself, Reverend Kathleen. I fixed my cats. We're all done now. Does that answer your question? Wonderful. Thank you. Well, wasn't expecting that one. Okay. Next. How about just the nature of evil? Why not? Let's go there. Who else has a question? Jim. And you need to wait for the microphone because otherwise I don't get to make Jackson run all over the place. There he goes.
Let's say you were here for the very first time at CSL, the Church of Religious Science, listening to you. Could you give me the unabridged version of explaining the philosophy of science of mind?
The unabridged version. Yeah, good luck with that.
And I say that like if I was going to go out and tell somebody what we're all about.
We are a philosophy that teaches a spiritually based positive psychology. We create the lives we want, and if there's something in our life we don't want, we have ways of addressing it and spiritual tools that help us change our lives. Or, I don't know why I didn't just come over here. Thank you, Sally, for writing this part. For the science of mind, which is the philosophy of life that teaches there's a power for good in the universe and we can use it. So there's two. That help? If you refer to it as a positive psychology, you are both accurate and using words that people will understand. Psychology means the study of the psyche. Psyche means mind and spirit. That's us. Next. Danica had her hand up, and I don't know if there was somebody else.
So, part of the philosophy is about the noticing the good, manifesting the good, all part of that. What is your take on like shadow work, and instead of repressing that aspect of ourselves, how would you suggest to let that come up and heal within ourselves as well?
Quickly. Your good is there. Please go to it quickly. Shadow work is essential. There is nothing you will find in your own shadow or in those dark corners of yourself that is not God. We may as well take a look at it and embrace it and use that energy to create even more good in the world. 90% of what goes sideways and creates people like me with degrees in psychology is that people are afraid to look at their own shadow. And yet, without doing that work, without letting the closet monster out and going to lunch with him, pulling out those whatever they are under the beds that I know everybody was scared of that when they were a kid. Did you ever do that? Like it's the middle of the night and you really need to go to the bathroom, but you can't jump out because your feet will get grabbed? Or the floor is lava, one or the other. These are things that in our humanity we fear. It's okay to be scared. It's not okay. You deserve better than to be ruled by fear. How's that? Okay. I think we got like one or two more. Don't call on Howie. He's going to ask me why the sky is blue. This is what happens when you warn me. Who else has a question?
I do.
Okay.
So one of my favorite lines is the only good can come of this. And I find myself having a hard time believing that in every case when I get hit with the thing that you would have to think that about. And I have so many experiences where something I thought was bad turned into something that led to something that was very good. So I was like, oh, only good does come of this. But then the next time something bad happens, I'm still like, oh, this is bad. And then something good comes, it's like, oh, only good can come of this. And so do you have any tips and tricks for moving the feeling of like only good can, it doesn't, I often find myself waiting for the good thing to happen to say, oh, only good can come of this. But it's like, no, you're supposed to think that the minute the bad thing happens and know that. And then when the good happens, then it's like, I knew it all along. So
Okay.
how do you close that, in situations, how do you close that gap from that moment that the quote-unquote bad thing happens?
Okay.
The abridged version.
All right. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. You show up here, you take the classes. You get to the point where that's in your muscle memory. Now, here's the other thing that'll get you there faster. That word supposed, it's very close to the word suppository, if you haven't noticed. Should sounds like another word as well. And so I just don't go there anymore. I will get to the happy. Instead of trying to say only good will come of this, when I'm looking at something that appears to be bad, I have gotten to the point of, okay, what are you up to? It's kind of like those of you with toddlers when it goes quiet in the other room. Once upon a time, everybody would freak out. Now everybody grabs their phone because they know they're going to have something up on YouTube soon. And it's going to be adorable and a mess. We take little steps. Each day we expand our faith. Each day we come back here and let somebody else be a mirror of what could possibly go right. And eventually it just becomes a habit. Okay, this is our last question. And I have 2 minutes. Ready, go. Okay, just hold on a second. Is there anyone with an actual question? And you and I can talk about that after service if it's okay.
I have some friends who are seeking a spiritual community, and I was sharing about CSL and my love of the mind treatment, which is very close to me and dear, and I don't do a day without it. And they shifted around to a negative of that, saying, oh, that group, they're like Pollyanna. Do you know what I mean? They're saying things that aren't so and hope that they're going to happen. I just didn't know how to respond to them. I mean, I believe the universe is on my side, do they? Would you mind addressing that question?
Emma Curtis Hopkins once wrote, "Believe what you will, report your results." Believe what you will and report your results. If my life is getting better because I'm being Pollyanna, guess what? Wah. And I was having fun while I was doing it. If I know you, that's not an if, I do know you well enough to know that your life is your best testimony. We don't argue with other people's beliefs. I don't need anyone to agree with me. I enjoy it, and I'm right. However, if somebody else is holding to their truth and isn't open to a conversation about it, not a debate, but a conversation, I will never debate my faith. That demeans my faith and the other person's. If they're not interested in what I have to say, why am I bugging them? Have you ever been approached on the street by those people handing out flyers saying, "You're going to hell, please come with me"? And I'm like, our version of that is to walk up to somebody and say, "I'm not giving you a flyer because you'll just throw it out and that's a waste of paper, but you're perfect and we love you." Next. We don't proselytize well. Does that answer your question? Excellent. Okay, so just to prove I can do it, I'ma stop. And come down here. Now,